Welcome to Military 101. The military has a long history and there's a lot that we could cover, but we'd be here for months. Today in part 1, we'll introduce you to the Canadian Armed Forces, or the CAF org chart, the defense team, operational environments or elements, and regular and reserve force, the similarities and the differences. My name is Natasha DeCoste, and I'm one of the deployment coordinators at the Halifax and Region Military Family Resource Center. I grew up in a military family and was a member of the Canadian Armed Forces as well. The information I'm going to share with you is from the guide, Canadian Armed Forces 101 for Civilians, and the Government of Canada website. We'll start with the structure of the Canadian Armed Forces, or CAF. At the top of the organization chart, or the org chart, is the Prime Minister and Cabinet. The Prime Minister is the head of national defense. Supporting the Prime Minister is the Honorable Harjit Sajjan, the Minister of National Defense. The Minister of National Defense is responsible for Canadians' defense policy, as well as the management of the Department of National Defense and the Canadian Armed Forces. At this point, our org chart splits. To the left is Jody Thomas, the Deputy Minister of National Defense. She is responsible for policy, resources, interdepartmental organization, and international defense relations. On the right is the Chief of Defense Staff, or the CDS. The current CDS is General Jonathan Vance. General Vance is the second most senior officer, having primary responsibility for command, control, and management of the Canadian Armed Forces, as well as military strategy and requirements. Her Excellency, the Right Honorable Julie Payette, Governor General, is the Commander-in-Chief of Canada and the representative of Her Majesty the Queen. She is the most senior officer. More detail can be found on the Government of Canada website. The defense team is comprised of both the Canadian Armed Forces members, regular and reserve, and the civilian employees. Combined, they all contribute to the safety and security of Canada. Civilian roles include firefighters, cleaners, mechanics, engineers, or policy analysts, to name a few. There are a number of roles performed by both civilians and military. However, civilians would not perform the defense roles. As a registered charity, Military Family Resource Centers, or MFRCs, are considered provincial employees. Next, we'll be looking at the different operational environments or elements in the military. The top left represents the three elements together, showing an anchor, swords, and eagle to represent the Navy, Army, and Air Force. On the top right is Royal Canadian Navy, or RCN. The Navy participates in peace-supporting and maritime security operations, provides humanitarian assistance, conducts patrols, and search and rescue. The Navy is made up of formations, which are the naval units that operate and maintain the Atlantic and Pacific fleets. A fleet is a group of warships under one command. The Canadian Army, on the bottom left, provides combat-ready troops in response to conflicts around the globe to fight for freedom, stability, and human rights. The Army also sends soldiers and equipment to assist countries that have suffered natural disasters. Canadian Rangers are a part-time Army Reserve unit located in 200 remote, isolated, and coastal regions across Canada. They conduct patrols, collect data, perform security duties, and help with search and rescue and natural disasters. The Canadian Army is made up of units and is the largest part of the Canadian Armed Forces, with 42,000 soldiers. This includes regular and reserve force and the Canadian Rangers. The Royal Canadian Air Force, or the RCAF, protects Canadian independence and interests at home and abroad. The Air Force defends Canadian airspace, conducts maritime and northern patrols, search and rescue missions, and interception of vessels carrying illegal drugs. The RCAF also airlifts military personnel and supplies and disaster relief supplies to regions in need. The Air Force is made up of wings, which include squadrons and units such as combat support, transport, and maintenance. Sometimes members may switch elements to pursue a different career path. This is called remuster. Now we're going to look at the differences and similarities between the regular or reg force and reserve force. Some similarities. Both members enroll in the Navy, Army, or Air Force. They all follow command structure, and there are officers and NCMs, non-commissioned members of all ranks. Some of the differences include regular force members have made the military their full-time career. Reserve members serve mostly part-time in the CAF. However, there are some members who will serve back-to-back contracts in the reserves, which makes it a full-time career for them. Their main role is to support the regular force at home and abroad. Reservists typically serve 1 or more evenings a week and/or during weekends at locations close to home. Some reservists may volunteer to be deployed on operations if there are positions available. The reserve force is separated into 3 classes. Class A are employed on a part-time basis within their unit. Class B are employed full-time in a non-operational capacity. Class C, this is the operational level of employment. Examples of Class C positions include, but are not limited to, deployments to operational areas and core crew positions on Canadian warships. Work-related separation is not voluntary for regular force members. Regular force members will be sent on missions, exercises, duties, or deployments, and will also be posted or moved during their career. Regular force members can release from the military after a term of service has been completed. Reservists have no minimum time commitment. Next, in Military 101 Part 2, we'll introduce you to the Canadian Armed Forces, or the CAF, rank system, some of the military traditions and culture, acronyms, there are many. If you have any questions, please contact me at the email on the screen. Thank you for joining me today.